Hello and welcome to the Kamala Show. We bring you interviews and conversations with technologists, entrepreneurs, filmmakers, and other newsmakers. And today we have a music maker on our show. We have with us Dr. Aaron Lington, who is a professor at San Jose State and also a member of a Grammy-winning group.
That's right.
Pacific Mambo Orchestra. So how does a State professor become associated with the Grammy-winning? See how I said State?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. Part of my job as a music professor is to stay busy as a professional artist, just like if in the engineering department they want people to continue to create patents, and in the English department they want people to write books. In the music department they want people to compose and perform. So I try to stay out there in the public as much as possible, performing, composing, and I got associated with these musicians, and we've had some success lately. It's been really great.
Yes, it's been great, and this is the first crowdsourced album. I mean, they raised fund on Kickstarter.
That's right.
$11,000?
It's somewhere in there, yeah.
Okay, and then they released this album. So I was doing my research, and I found out that when the way they went and kind of marketed their CD to all the Grammy, the folks in the Grammy jury or whatever, and I guess the category for which you won was Hot Tropical?
Tropical Latin album.
Tropical, and we
Latin album.
And we have there a picture of the group.
Yeah, that was from that was before we had won, but after we had been nominated.
Okay.
And that was at the NARIS, which is the organization that does the Grammy Award. They have chapters in pretty much every major city or every region in the country. So there's a San Francisco chapter of NARIS, N-A-R-A-S. And that was a mixer that they had for the nominated artists. And so that's not the entire Pacific Mambo. Everyone unfortunately couldn't make that event, but a big chunk of us were able to get there.
And then there's a picture of you holding the Grammy.
So that was after the fact.
And where was this?
This was in Tumalan Music Studios. So this is the music studios that is owned and operated by one of the leaders of Pacific Mambo Orchestra, Christian Tumalan, and that's in San Francisco.
Okay, so that's his studio.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the Grammy. Tell me, did you ever think you'd win a Grammy when you're taking all those music classes in North Texas and Houston?
No, some people have asked me that question before. Also, was that a goal to get a Grammy award? It was never a goal of mine, and I'm not sure how other people feel about it. But for me, I mean, it's really been. I love making music, performing and composing music, and it's really I just do it to the very best of my ability, and I hope people like it. And this was just a really great kind of a little boost of confidence, I guess that you could say.
And they also played, and we have a clip here where the Pacific Mambo Orchestra is playing on the opening night of the San Jose Jazz Festival.
Yeah, this is on the salsa stage.
Salsa stage. And they're playing, actually, we have potted down the music, and that's the leader of the band.
One of two leaders, Christian Tumalan.
Okay.
So he lives in San Francisco. He's from Mexico originally.
Okay.
And he's the keyboardist, and he does some of the composing for the band as well.
Okay.
And then the other leader, you can't see him, but he's back in the trumpet section. His name is Stefan Kuhn.
Okay.
And he's from Germany originally, but he lives in Walnut Creek.
Okay. So many of the band members are educators too?
Yeah, I would say maybe not full-time educators. I can full-time teaching at a school or middle school or high school or whatever, but I would say almost all of them do some kind of teaching, just teaching private lessons to students when they're not performing and that kind of thing. It's a great way to augment your income as a musician.
So let's get back to Pacific Mambo Orchestra. How did you get involved with them? Because you've also written or arranged some of the tracks on this album?
Exactly. So Stefan, one of the leaders, he and I had done some work here in the Bay Area before Pacific Mambo existed. I moved here in '04 and from Texas, and I had done some concerts with Stefan there right after I had gotten in town, and so I'd gotten to know him a little bit. And we had also an association through the University of North Texas. We weren't there at the same time, but He is an alumnus of University of North Texas, as am I. So we had a nice connection there, networking through our alma mater. So when he and Christian decided to put this band together, they just basically called all the best people they could think of that they liked to work with, and and put the band together that way. Filled all the chairs that they needed for the band, and there's a lot of chairs to fill. It's a 20-piece band. It's a really large group.
Which is unusual in today's age.
It is absolutely unusual. I would say most salsa bands, which is really, they call it tropical Latin now. It's really a salsa band or a mambo band. Most of the groups you're looking at maybe 5 to 8 people, something like that. So to have a 20-piece band is really pretty extraordinary.
So you play the sax for them?
Baritone saxophone.
Okay, and then you've also composed?
Right, and I do a lot of composing and arranging for the band as well.
Okay.
I would say that most of what everything on the album for sure, and a lot of what we play live as well, are things that are written specifically for our band by members of the band.
And there's a reason for it, because before this interview we had a conversation where you mentioned that when you have to play in public, you have to buy sheet music.
Right, that's right.
We didn't know that. So if you're playing, say, in a hotel, say at the Dianza here, at Headley Lounge, and you are a 5-piece band and you have to play from, say, 8 to 12, how many songs can you play in that time?
Yeah, a small group like that is going to play maybe, I don't know, 5 to 7 songs per hour, something like that.
21 songs at least.
Yeah, over the course of the night. And so so if there's anything that you don't know that you want your group to play specifically, you either have to get a recording and just listen and sort of figure it out, or B, you have to find out who the publisher of that music is, and you can buy the sheet music and then perform it.
So anytime a musician performs, they actually have to have a copy of that sheet music?
If they didn't know it ahead of time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, certainly.
So because sometimes they will decline to play when you go and request.
Well, yeah, right.
Is that because they don't have the sheet music?
That's because they don't have the sheet music and they don't know it. Exactly.
So if for the 21 songs, they're paying $50 to $75 a piece, that's a lot of money that you have to fork out to buy those sheets.
It's an investment. I mean, of course, once you buy a copy of the music for your group, you can play it as many times as you want.
So when Pacific Mambo started, they went the other route, commission and own your own music.
Yeah, we didn't have a lot of music that we owned as a band, and honestly, just because of the type of band that this is, it's a salsa band or mambo band, we didn't have. I mean, there are some publishing companies out there that specialize in that kind of music. There's a really great one called 3-2 Music Publishing out of Fresno, and they do specialize in music for this type of group. But like we were saying, it's a big investment in money to really purchase a lot of stuff. And so we did buy some music, but we went kind of the other route of just having guys in the band make the investment into the ensemble and spend the time and the energy to write custom tailored arrangements and original compositions.
So you
for
were
the
commissioned.
band.
You were commissioned.
Right, exactly.
Okay. And who did you beat out to win the award this year?
Well, the real big name in our category, there were obviously many talented artists. The real big name in our category was Mark Anthony, who had released also an album that was eligible for that same category, and I thought for sure that he was a shoo-in to win. I mean, he's legitimately famous. You know what I mean? and
but the teacher in you was a.
So we were happy to be nominated, and anyone who's nominated, honestly, has a fair chance of winning. Everyone is definitely deserving to win, in my opinion. Anyone nominated.
So did you fall off your chair when you found out?
Yeah, it was pretty surreal. That's for sure.
Did he come and meet you? Did Mark Anthony?
No, we didn't.
Did he take it badly then?
I don't know.
Okay, we don't know about that. So Pacific Mambo is just one of them. The second one is a clip that we were going to show. This is where I saw you again at the San Jose Jazz Festival.
Right.
And this is an all high school band.
That's exactly right.
Okay. And these are students from schools in San Jose?
All around the Bay Area, actually. I have in the past had kids from as far north as Walnut Creek participate in this band in San Francisco. This particular year we didn't have anyone quite that far north, but a number of people from Mountain View, Cupertino, definitely a lot from San Jose, Fremont, Milpitas, etc.
What is the formal name of this band?
It's part of the San Jose Jazz, which is a nonprofit in San Jose, runs the big jazz festival every summer. So the proper name is the San Jose Jazz High School All-Stars.
Why All-Stars?
Well, because it's an auditioned group that we're looking to get the best possible high school students that we can in our area. You know, I mean, we'd love to get anyone we could, but just from a logistical standpoint, it's hard to get someone from Fresno or whatever, you know what I mean? So we're getting people mainly from the South Bay, but the Bay Area. And so it's an auditioned group. We do an audition every year in the fall.
So it's coming up now?
It's coming up, yeah. I forget the exact date. I want to say the 17th or 18th of October. It's a Sunday. And it'll be at my office at San Jose State, and I'll do a long day of auditions.
And what, do they get 15 minutes?
It's more like 5-6 minutes per student, and it's heavily focused on sight reading, which means performing music as perfectly as possible at first reading. So they have the sheet music. It's something they've never seen. I say, play this for me. So
they have to be fluent in that.
That's right. That's right.
Because if they drag even a bit, and we spoke about the drag, then they're out.
Well,
do you give anybody a second chance? Because sometimes out of nervousness, you know, they may not do it. You know, as an experienced teacher, I'm assuming that you can spot when somebody's nervous.
Of course. Of course.
So do you give them a second chance?
Well, what I do is when they walk in and I can tell they're nervous and they're, you know, acting fidgety and breathing hard, you know, I tell them, I was like, look, hey, I go, look at me, smile, take a deep breath. This is all good. This is going to be fun, you know. And I try to make them feel really comfortable. I think they feel like their whole life is riding on this one moment. And I was like, look, this is one opportunity. It's something to do. Just relax and have fun, and let's see what happens.
Do you have fun at the end of it when you get your group together and you're
absolutely.
practicing?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You don't get tired if somebody doesn't perform?
You know, the amazing thing about music and being involved in music is that it keeps me, this sounds very sort of unsophisticated, but it keeps me very untired. And I don't even know if that's a real word.
Because you're always in a happy state.
Always in a happy state, and no 2 days are the same. Every day of my life is different. I mean, between my wife and my family and my job, and I consider my job playing music. Fortunately, my vocation is my job, and it's something that I love to do, but every single day is different. You know, I got to play with Michael Feinstein yesterday up at the Green Music Center in Santa Rosa. The day before that, I played at the Coppola Winery with Pacific Mambo. A couple of days before that, I was playing in San Francisco with another group I play with called the Tommy Igoe Groove Conspiracy, and we were playing for the Ferrari Owners Group of the Bay. So
it's a very elite.
The Bay Area, and we were doing a big fundraiser for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and so every day is something different, and so it's a busy schedule, but with the help of coffee and music, I keep going.
How do you discover new music? Because you have your hands full with so many things.
Sure.
You're teaching, you've got the high school band, you're with the PCO, Pacific Mambo, PMO.
Yeah.
How do you find, how do you discover new music?
Sure, that's a really great question. Because I'm friends with so many people on Facebook, so many musicians, there's some really great networking that can go on with people saying, hey, I just released a new record, or hey, I heard, someone that I know on Facebook says, hey, I heard this thing that's really very good, and they'll post a little clip or whatever, and so I go out and I'm not a streaming music guy at all. I know it's kind of old school, I guess, nowadays.
What kind of a guy are you then?
Well, I actually just buy the record and
Oh, you do? You buy CDs or records?
Absolutely. CDs.
Okay.
Yeah. I still call it a record, but CD.
Oh, okay. So you do it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, I do.
Buy the CD and then listen to it, or if somebody recommends.
It supports the artist to do that.
Ah, okay. So when we were speaking again, and I asked you about how you work with the high school band students, one of the things I asked you is what is the homework that you give them?
Oh, sure.
And you said Count Basie's Corner Pocket, which I went and did as a dutiful student. I went and listened to it.
That's definitely a good example of something that I would send those kids home for homework to check out.
I'm not a musically trained, but I could make out why you told your students to listen, because you can see how each section joins in. And so when the piano plays, the opening chords are by a pianist, and then you see the percussionist or the bass player keeping beat. Is that what you want the students to go away and come away learning when they look at it? What do you want them to learn from it?
Right, that's a really great question. So the Count Basie Band is really the epitome of a very certain style of jazz that some people will refer to as a Kansas City style.
Because that's where
that's where that band originated from, basically. And it's a specific style of approaching the music. And you know, you have a young music student who has learned to play, let's say, the trumpet. And they've played in their school band, and they've played classical music, or they've played in marching band and these different things. And then they want to play in jazz band. I want to play in jazz band. It's like, okay, well, it's the same 12 notes. There's only 12 notes.
It's easy for you to say that.
Well, I mean, no, you're right. I mean, but I guess what I'm getting at is it's like there's not different notes that you're going to play in jazz. It's the same notes they've already learned. It's the same rhythms pretty much that they've always learned, but it's a different style that makes it sound the way it's supposed to sound. If they don't play it with the right style, even if all the notes are right and if all the rhythms are right, it won't sound right. It's like
how do you then get hooked to the style? How do you find out the style?
Through listening. That's very much an oral sort of thing that they have to experience. I mean, as an instructor, as a teacher, I can certainly give some explanation, some instruction on how physically to make certain things happen and how to help make it better. You know what I mean? But just from really recreating the style.
So mimicking is the best way to learn?
Absolutely. It'd be like trying to learn how to speak a language only out of a book. You would probably pronounce it wrong. You have to listen to someone speak it to really understand how to speak where you can be understood in a language. And this is exactly the same thing.
How did you become interested in music? You grew up in Texas,
I did.
The heartland of roots music.
Absolutely. Texas is a great place, a lot of great music in Texas, and I grew up, I would say, in a musical household. My parents did not pursue music as a career, but they loved music, and my mom's a great singer, good piano player. She doesn't play too much anymore, but she was a pretty good piano player and played a little bit of guitar. My dad played a lot of guitar.
What kind of music did they listen to?
A lot of country music, folk music, Eagles, Willie Nelson, bluegrass music like Ricky Skaggs, stuff like that.
Very interesting sounds, each one of them.
It's very cliche Texas music, but that's what it was, and it was a great way to.
No country music from Nashville?
Yeah, I mean there'd be stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, so you grew up listening to that.
Yeah.
And then when did you decide that you wanted to kind of pursue music? Because pursuing music is always a bit of a challenging pathway, because it's not easy being a musician.
Absolutely.
You know, and you really have to love it, and making money is not that easy.
Right.
So when did you decide that you wanted to pursue music? Because there could be a student out there, you know, who's very good, but then may not pursue it because of the challenges.
It is very challenging. A lot of things are very challenging, though. I mean, becoming a doctor is very challenging. Becoming an engineer is very challenging.
But they have a
being
set
a good
path.
parent is very challenging.
Yeah, but being a medical doctor and engineers, you have a set path. You know, somebody is going to give you a job. Whereas
you hope.
They would, but being a musician is a little bit more challenging.
Well, it's more self-employed.
Yeah.
Sure, you have to be your own, you have to market yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So when did you decide were you aware of these challenges when you decided to pursue the path?
No, I wasn't actually. I mean, I think, very optimistic and maybe a little bit of a Pollyanna kind of attitude, as many teenagers are, you know what I mean? But it was something that I just decided I was going to do it, and so I went in 100%. And I've been able to. Every dime I've earned since 18 years old has been playing, writing, or teaching music.
Since 18, you've been earning.
18, yeah.
Wow, and did you put yourself through school through this earnings, or did you get scholarship or take?
I got scholarships, certainly. My parents helped with my undergrad.
You don't have a student debt?
No.
You're lucky.
I pay all my student debt off.
Okay, so that's probably a big burden off your back.
Absolutely.
When you graduated. So tell us, you went to a very famous school, North Texas. The music school it's got lots of famous alums.
Yes.
Who are some of them?
Nora Jones was at school there when I was there.
Oh, so Nora Jones studied in the same kind of...
Yeah, Nora Jones was there. There's a group that just won a Grammy this year, also the same year that Pacific Mambo won, called Snarky Puppy.
Yes, they were here at the San Jose Jazz.
Yeah, and so I was also, I know a lot of those guys from school. As a matter of fact, I want to say I saw one of their very first concerts ever when that band first formed. In Denton, where the University of North Texas is located.
And what kind of music do they play?
It's hard to categorize. They're kind of all over the map in a good way. They won for, I think it was best R&B performance this current Grammy year, but that's a hard to classify group.
Is it?
I would say, yeah.
Okay, and the person that you studied with in North Texas is a very famous gentleman, James Riggs.
Right.
Tell us about him. What was he famous for?
Well, he's a wonderful saxophone player in his own right.
Oh, he's a sax player.
For sure, he's a saxophone player. So he was my saxophone teacher while I was there at the University of North Texas, and what he is most well known for, I would say, is his unbelievable legacy that he has left in the students that he has taught over the years. I don't know how many years he was teaching at North Texas, 25 to 30 years. I'd have to ask him how many years it was that he was there. But students of his, for example, a guy named Tim Reese, who's the saxophone player with the Rolling Stones.
Oh, with the Rolling Stones.
There's a guy by the name of Dan Higgins who lives in Los Angeles, probably a name you haven't necessarily heard of. The guy's been on about at least 500 movie soundtracks. Is playing 500. He was the movie that was just out a couple years ago with Leonardo DiCaprio called Catch Me If You Can.
Yes.
In the opening credits, there's this very intricate saxophone line, and that's Dan Higgins playing saxophone. And he's played on a ton of movie soundtracks, and he's even Bleeding Gums Murphy on The Simpsons. It's a character on The Simpsons who plays the saxophone.
Oh, okay.
And that's Dan Higgins as well. And those are two of many very successful students that James Riggs produced over his years of being a teacher.
What did you learn from him?
To think for myself, I think, as a musician. I think it's very easy to get with a teacher who wants you to only do things one way. And I think he had the ability to let me see many different ways of doing the same thing and figuring out what the best way to do it was. And I would say that's... And
he has a lot of bands. 1 O'Clock Band?
Well, that's not his band particularly, but
the school.
At the University of North Texas, it's a very large school. A lot of students there studying jazz. And so in each jazz band, there's about 20 people, but there are many more jazz students than just 20. So they have usually 9.
So it's called 1 O'Clock Lab Band, and then you have 2 o'clock,
3 o'clock.
So is it, that's when they meet?
Exactly.
1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. And you met your wife also there?
I met her actually at University of Houston.
Okay, and she's a musician too?
She's a musician too, a very, very, very fine pianist, classical pianist. She plays with the San Jose Opera, and she also teaches here in the area as well.
So there's music in the house?
Yeah, all the time.
When you wake up in the morning, is there music playing?
Only on my alarm clock.
Or you're so busy getting a coffee to get...
Yeah. It's not really till I get up to the university that the music starts really happening.
What are some of the new music that you've heard that really took your fancy in the past month or two? Okay.
As mainly a jazz musician, I listen to a lot of jazz still, obviously. So there's a really fantastic saxophonist who lives in Ohio named Bobby Salvaggio. And I've done some recording with him in the past, and he teaches at Kent State University. And I just bought one of his brand new albums called Short Story. I think Short Stories was the name of the album, and I was just listening to it in the car driving up to that concert at Coppola Winery on Saturday, because it's like a 2.5 hour drive or whatever. And so I'll bring a bunch of new music with me in the car and listen as I'm driving.
And do you recommend that to your students?
I recommend them listening to music as often as they can.
We are running out of time, so my last question is, what is it like to teach at San Jose? Because I think a lot of us in the Bay Area, for some reason, we don't associate San Jose with jazz.
Sure.
But it has got the Jazz Festival, and it's got this music department where you're teaching.
Absolutely.
So what is it like teaching in San Jose State? Yeah,
teaching in San Jose State has been really great. I've been there since 2004. I'm a full professor there now in the music department, and I'm in charge of the jazz program there. So in our whole music school, we have about 400 majors. It fluctuates a little bit, but about 400 majors, and about 10% of that number are students studying jazz. And we've had a lot of great success in the past with alumni from our program. For example, Jeff Cressman is an alumni from our program. He's a trombone player for Carlos Santana.
Oh.
And there's been a number of other people.
So has Santana come to the school?
No, unfortunately not. That'd be a lot of fun. But there's been, it's easy to overlook state schools with, you have places like Stanford here in the area. I mean, it's, which is just really a world famous institution. But the real sort of meat and potatoes of educating California's citizenry are the state schools, the UCs and the CSUs. And I mean, it's sometimes the things go right in your backyard have some of the best things available, but you don't think about it because it's literally 5 miles from your house or whatever, you know what I mean? So you always, the grass is always greener, but there's some really great stuff going on there for sure.
And we can catch you on some weekends at the downtown market?
Absolutely. I mean, you can check my website at aaronlington.com. I keep a calendar on there. PacificMambo.com is the website for Pacific Mambo Orchestra, and the group, the Tommy Igoe Groove Conspiracy. We play at Yoshi's in San Francisco and Fillmore most every Tuesday. You can check that as well.
Okay, so there we have it. Aaron, thank you for stopping by.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure.
And talking about music.
Thank you.
And thank you all for tuning in and watching the show today. If you missed any of our shows, they are available on our YouTube channel. Thank you. Tune back in next week for another edition of our show. Until then, goodbye. Just